Beyond the Blightscar Hills, farther north than any cartographer dared to draw, lies the Hollow March. There is no kingdom there, no throne, no fire, only snow and the sound of rusted feet. They call him the Crownless Knight, but only in whispers. He does not speak, he does not kill, he simply marches. And thousands follow. Not men, not soldiers, things that once were. Their armor is fused to their flesh, their blades rusted into bone, their banners forgotten. Yet they move, step after step, across frozen rivers, through ruined fiefdoms, always behind him, always in silence. They do not tire. They do not question. They do not remember. Villagers speak of the coming by what is left behind. Black footprints in snow that does not melt. Trees turn to ash in their core. Animals with their eyes burned shut. And sometimes just silence. Like the world itself holding its breath. A child once wandered too close. They found her days later, kneeling in a field, eyes blank. She did not cry. She did not eat. She only said one thing again and again. He doesn't wear it, but he has a crown. No one knows where the march began. Some say it started in Ulasil's grave. Others say it never started. It always was. The Crownless Knight is not living. But he is not dead either. He is memory. Walking. A tarnished named Karen watched the march from the cliffs above Hallmere Hollow. He had fought in wars, danced with death, taken grace into his veins. But this was older. Wrong. The kind of wrong that could not be mended with flame. He counted 212 knights in the first wave. All silent, all moving at the same rhythm. All wore broken bits of iron circlets, pressed into skulls, nailed into jawbones, melted to helmets. And each one bled rust. Behind them, a palanquin, empty, carried by hollowed giants. No one sat upon it, but its shadow bent the trees around it. Cairn turned to leave, but his feet were frozen, not by cold but by something deeper, the feeling that he had seen this before, that he had been there. That night, he dreamed of a battlefield where the dead stood in rows, weeping blood. Above them, a knight without a crown carved names into the sky with a rusted sword. The names were familiar, because they were his. Names he had worn, names he had killed to forget. Cairn woke screaming. His blade was gone, his armor rusted, his feet were already moving, following the trail through the Hollow March, not because he wanted to, because he remembered. And so the march grows, one soul at a time, until the Crownless Knight does not walk ahead, but beside you, and then behind you. Some say there's no escape from the Hollow March, but one man did leave, at least for a time. His name was Garr, a deserter, once a page beneath the crestfallen banner, now a ghost in blood-soaked cloth. He escaped the march not by running, but by hiding in its shadow. It passed him by. He did not move for 3 days. When he stood again, the air smelled of copper and frost. He made his way to the drowned chapel of St. Velra, where water pooled in the nave and every window was broken. It was there he began to write, not to tell a story, to remember who he was. The first entry was simple. My name is Garr. The second read, I walked with them. The third, I can still hear it. Every night he burned the pages. Every morning they returned. New ink, same words, but the handwriting was not his. He began hearing footsteps that didn't echo his own. A slow dragging gait, like iron chains being pulled across stone. He found a set of muddy prints near the chapel's altar. They led nowhere. One night Garr lit every candle in the chapel and stood vigil. He heard breathing. Slow, rhythmic, familiar. From the confessional, he opened the curtain. Inside sat himself. Same clothes, same face, same rusted eyes. Mouth moving soundlessly, mouthing the words from his journal. Garr slammed the curtain shut. When he opened it again, it was empty. From that night onward, the chapel began to change. Cracks formed in the walls, spiral-shaped, rust-colored. The altar bled water even when dry. The stained glass reformed. A depiction of a knight with no crown. One morning, Garr found an unfamiliar sword beside his bedroll, pitted with age, red with rust, too heavy to lift. But it hummed, not in steel, in memory. He recognized it. That night, Garr dreamt of marching again. The Crownless Knight at the front, the palanquin behind, and in the middle, himself, smiling, crying, hungry. He woke with ash on his chest, and the spiral burned into his palm. He did not scream. He did not pray. He began to walk toward the Hollow March, toward what he had always been. The chapel stands empty now. No scripture, no candles, no corpses. Just a single journal on the altar. The last page reads, We do not hunger for flesh. We hunger for the memory of who we were. They say the Crownless Knight spoke once, not with voice, but with action. and the world has not recovered. The day it happened, the march stopped. In the husk of Castle Varence, the Hollow Legion dug without orders. No commands, no banners, yet they moved in sync. They unearthed stone rooms that had not seen air in centuries, and there they built something, a shrine but not holy, a circular pit lined with rusted swords, every blade bent, every handle snapped. The centerpiece, a figure impaled on a dozen spears, hung upside down, mouth open in silent song. They called it the Rust Saint. No one remembered placing it there, but they all bowed to it, even the knight, especially the knight. A bell rang, once, no one knew from where, but all felt it. The sky turned the color of dried blood, and the knight knelt. For the first time he removed his helmet. There was no face beneath it, only iron cords twisted like tendons, and a rusted memory that stank of war. It looked at no one, but everyone felt seen. A scribe from the Southern Watch claimed the knight whispered. He died days later, unable to close his eyes. His final words. It was not a voice, it was a knowing. He showed me who I was, and what I still owed. The Legion began building walls, wrong angles, no symmetry, using bone mortar. No siege towers, no defenses, only containment, as if building not to protect but to trap. The shrine pulsed. Pilgrims began arriving. Not from cities, from the dark. Hollowed beyond recognition, crowned in thorn and blade, they knelt before the Rust Saint and wept rust. None remembered their names. Garr saw it all from the woods beyond. He was not hiding. He was waiting. Something inside him pulsed in rhythm with the shrine. Not fear, recognition. That night he returned to the chapel, but it was no longer there. Only stone, smooth, untouched. The journal was gone, but the sword remained. He took it, not to fight, to lead, toward the march, back to the night. And the truth, Castle Varence now rings with iron hymns, not sung, echoed, from mouths that forgot how to scream. And in the center, the Rust Saint smiles, because rust is not rot, it is memory. The Hollow March reached its end at the edge of the world. Not a battlefield, a cliff, where the stone dropped into endless fog and no man had ever returned. The Crownless Knight stood there for 3 days, still, waiting. Behind him, the Legion did not rest. They began to unmake themselves. One tore off his breastplate and placed it in the snow. Another pulled the bones from his own legs and laid them in a perfect line. Not death, offering. They dismantled their own forms, piece by piece, blade by blade, and built something in their place. A throne, forged from regret, tempered by rust, shaped not to rule, but to remember. The throne of the unnamed. Garr arrived at dawn. The sword in his hand hummed like a wound. He didn't speak. There was nothing left to say. He walked through the kneeling dead and ascended the throne. He did not sit. He knelt, and when he did, the fog before the cliff pulled back, revealing not a fall, but a door. The stone split down the center, not by force, but by memory. On its surface, names, thousands. Each one burned away the moment it was read, each one Garr had once worn. The Crownless Knight turned to face him. Still no face, still no eyes, but his sword was gone. And Garr's was burning, not with flame, with purpose. Garr spoke a single word, not in a language, Inrust. And the march began again. New direction. Behind them, the Legion rebuilt, no longer hollow, but remembered, not who they were, but what they meant. No one saw the Crownless Knight again, but his presence lingered, in blade scratches, in fog, in rusted doors that never used to be there, in the hunger to walk even when there's nowhere to go. He was not forgotten, because forgetting him is how he starts again. And so the march continues. No kingdom to claim, no throne to take, only rust and memory.